We are back for yet more racing action in the iRacing Indy Pro 2000 Championship presented by Cooper Tires. What a season this has been. Every single time it has made an appearance here on RaceSpotTV, and the time has just about come to get set for yet another 12 rounds of racing action. Road America, the first circuit on the calendar, and no doubt going to be a thrilling season opener. No better track really for any season opener or even a season finale, in my personal opinion here. Nola Rempo with Lorenzo Bonder coming at you live here from the Elkhart Lakes facility. Road America kicking us off here for race number 1. We're already swinging overseas for round 2 with the first oval race in round number 3.
Yeah, basically a really good track for us to start this weekend, kind of mirroring the real life Indy calendar, because they are at Elkhart Lake this weekend, so it's going to be really good to see a lower powered car. I broadcasted the Indy this Monday, so it's a reduction in power, reduction in aero downforce, but still the fun is retained.
The fun is retained indeed, and with those horsepower reductions that we've seen, they now have roughly 275 horsepower generated from that Mazda 2-liter engine right in the rear end of these machines. So bound to be an incredibly exciting race here today. Every time I've tuned into one of these broadcasts, it has always been, some of the most thrilling racing you can possibly see out there on the service. And it kicks off a very unique Friday schedule for us here today. 3 different open wheel series going to be on RaceSpotTV. We start things off, of course, with the Indy Pro 2000 Championship. Then we move over to the Apex Formula 3 Championship, which is going to be brought to you by another team later on in about an hour's time. And immediately, just 15 minutes after that race starts, the Formula V Championship is going to be making an appearance as well. So 3 different open wheel series, and I honestly think this is going to be one of the best ones to start them off on the day.
I really don't know which one is the better off to start, because the Indy Pro is basically A&F3 with a little bit of less horsepower and kind of similar downforce. The F3 is going to be a really good race to see at Watkins Glen, still in the United States. The FV is still a very interesting car. I haven't driven it yet, but I've just got good things from it. Let's see how it's going to be in this 15-lap race around the Elkhart Lake track, right about 4 miles long.
15 laps does not look like a lot on paper, but we're talking 2-minute lap times here around this facility. It is a very long track, over 4 miles in length, one of the longest racing tracks in the United States of America. And it's a very good track as well. You got a lot of very long straightaways into very hard braking zones. It's one of my favorite facilities that we can find here in the USA. It's got everything you need to have a fantastic race on it. A lot of drafting opportunities. Then, of course, you have that second half of the lap, the speed section leading up towards Canada corner, where you need to try to carry the momentum through the track. So it's got a little bit for everyone, doesn't it?
It has, because it's a very interesting track that kind of resembles the old track of like the old days, where you basically don't have a lot of runoff areas. You do have some runoff areas like in the main corners, but it's still a very dangerous car, especially those 2 first laps where they're still building up the tires, where you still need to find the proper grip in it. And with the downforce trying to play its way, especially on the carousel, can be quite challenging for some of these drivers.
Qualifying is presently underway with just 2.5 minutes remaining. Greg Sykes is currently on the pole with a 2:01.047. We're currently watching Jerome Missink working his way through the final corner now before he throws his way up the hill. This is his first qualifying lap. He will have enough time for a second one, but only just. He'll have about 10 seconds on the clock by the time he comes around to complete it. So across the line, where does this first lap put him? It's a 2:02.252. That is going to put him up in the 11th position. So Missink still has a little bit of work to do, about 1/4 of a second off of the 10th place time. Here's Aaron Roofs, another one of those drivers that has to yet put in his lap. He's only going to have time for this one lap here as well, but I am pretty sure that got invalidated with an off track in the final sector of this.
Yeah, as he goes and finish up the lap. Basically, the lap is already in shambles, 2:04. It is not going to even be counted in the first place. So all he has to do with the second lap is kind of like just take it as a practice of sorts, as we're now looking into Mitchell Ian Green as he goes into the final corner. And not the final corner, but kind of the corner. One of the trickiest places for you to actually get a proper break in, because I was actually doing some testing in this car. It's so easy for you to lock up the brakes in kind of the corner that I was kind of surprised how much the grip and how much preparedness and readiness you need to get to the track. Oh, a little bit of wiggle on the outside. Okay.
putting on a bit of a flare, though. That is going to leave his second lap, though, in tatters. His first lap was good enough, though, for 5th position for now. He was just beaten out by Ann Medema, who bested him by just
Greg.
About 200ths of a second there?
Yeah, something like that. But look at Greg's second lap, though.
Ooh, boy. A 2-minute flat, 0.521. So Greg Seitz definitely the driver to beat tonight as he brings it close to his second lap, excuse me. So watching this 13 machine of Jerome Missink now, 40 seconds on the clock. He'll have just enough time to get this second lap in, provided he hasn't had too many struggles so far. Oh, really close to the exit, though. Can't in the corner to that gravel trap. Got that back end twitched out. That might have been enough to compromise him.
That might have been enough to compromise him as he goes into the final corner. Let's see how Jeremy goes in. There's a little bit of trail braking, but he kind of misses the apex a little bit. Try to go for the wider runoff into the last corner, and I don't think that will be enough, as he's probably going to cross the line with about 2 seconds to go in his lap, and is not a major improvement. 2:02.252. I think his previous lap was about 0.02 of a second faster than that.
And with that, just-in-time qualifying wraps up. Let's take a look now at the starting grid for the first race of the iRacing Indy Pro 2000 Championship. Greg Seitz on pole position, exactly 0.6 back is Maxime Constant, with Fabio Berchtold in 3rd place, and Medema is going to be in 4th. Mitchell Ian Green is in 5th, with Frank Nguyen going to be in 6th place. Martin Arnoldus is going to be in 7th place, with Maxime Ferreira rounding out 8th place. And it will be, I'm not forgiven for it as well, but I'm going to do my best here. Lyubov Ozerse-Stogavia in the 9th position to round up the top half of the field.
So Connor Malley is in 10th, Jordan Ward in 11th, John Wilson is 12th, followed by Jordan Missink in 13th, Pierre Bourdon is 14th. Then you have Eric Chetterny, Marcus Frentz, and Aaron Roofs rounding out P14. 15, 16, and 17 out of the 17 cars on this grid. Only 16 cars took laps. And Nolan, you might be confused with Lyubov Ozeretsovskaya's name. If you want to make it easier for you, Love46 is the proper name on her Twitch account.
Oh, well, there we go. So, I might end up just having to run with that then. I'm not good with Central Eastern European names. It's one of those things. I'm really used to American pronunciation. So, again, huge apologies. Still working on that. We'll work on that as the night goes on.
We'll get it. We'll get there
eventually. It will take several tries, but we'll get there eventually.
We'll get there eventually. What I like about this as well, because the other cars don't have it, like not the other cars, but the other categories we're going to be covering today don't have it, is the Rolling Star, because they kind of mimic the Indy calendar, because the Indy has a Rolling Star, US F2000 has a Rolling Star, the Indy Lights has a Rolling Star, so they're basically going to be mimicking this. So it's a full lap. It's going to be an interesting lap for them actually to do it. But I can't wait for that start, because the start can be a little bit clunky depending on circumstances.
So the pace car begins to roll with Greg Seitz heading up the field. Maxime comes beside him on that front row. We get set to go racing for the first round here in the Indy Pro 2000 Championship. The 3rd season of 2021. Good grief, this is bound to be a very, very entertaining race. I mean, we've seen how many times, races like this, especially these season openers, can, definitely provide some good excitement for these drivers. 17 drivers as well, so it's a pretty sizable grid. And no doubt there's going to be a lot of competition up in the front as well.
There'll be a lot of competition in the front. I like quite a lot this top 5 all the way up to the top 10, because they're basically close to one together. Like, I think the gap that we have in second, of course, it stretches out all the way down to P9, but the guys within the 201 range, they're very close to one another. They could have done some mistakes on their laps, but that kind of bring a little bit of an attrition at the very start of the laps of this race. And one thing that this track also gives is that aero train, right? So the aero effect is so big in here that you can basically suck off a whole chunk of time for the guy ahead of you if you're just rolling in the draft, and then can you make that overtake? And that is why I love these cars. They're challenging at the start, but once the grip also builds up, it's a hoot to drive.
A total of 14 turns. They're coming up through turn number, well, they're going to be coming up to turn 7 and down through the hurry downs area. Now we're entering that speed section of the track where you have to carry a lot of momentum. It's a lot more difficult to pass, especially out through the carousel of 9 and 10. That's a corner where you just have to try to get a good momentum. Maybe you get a draft through the kink and have a look into the Canada corner. But honestly, that Canada corner turn 12, it is one of the fastest hairpins you'll see probably around the world. It's got such a wide radius, you can run so wide on the exit of it. It's going to make it a very unique corner when it comes to passing opportunities. I think definitely the place you want to make them is going to be either into turn 1 or turn 5 through the Morin sweep. Those are going to be the biggest two on the day.
And the thing about Morin sweep is that now with this is something we can actually talk about, that the new iRacing, with the new build of iRacing, it actually implemented the checkpoint at turn number 5, that if you just ran it off too wide, and that you could see that in some of the leagues and even official races, that the drivers basically got off to the very wide portion of the track, nearly towards the wall, and they didn't get a slow down. Now with the new build, what they've done is basically get a checkpoint in there, and depending where the car is, you can actually get about a second, something like that, to slow down, which can hamper your time, it can hamper your performance while still trying to battle for positions.
So Greg Seitz is going to take the field here through turn number 12. Just 2 more corners to go. So as we get set to go racing for the first time in the 3rd season of 2021, Lorenzo, what are your thoughts on what we can expect of these opening laps before we go green here?
Full-on attrition, a lot of draft and some swaps. I expect Seitz to retain at lap 1. I can wait to see what the rest of the group will do.
Coming through turn number 14, the last corner on the racetrack. Bend to the pace car driver getting set to pull down into pit road. And there goes the Porsche 911 GT3 iRacing pace car. We now wait for Greg Seitz to get this race underway. As they come over the crest beneath the NTT bridge, the green flag drops. We're underway. It's a great launch for Seitz, looking for 3 wide as Medina tries to go 3 wide around the outside of the run towards turn number 1. So battling 3 wide, almost 4% of place. Medina gets squeezed onto the grass. She gets forced out of the line. Van Berchtold down the inside, can maintain the second position away from Maxime Cousin, and the number 10 car doesn't look like it will. So we're still side by side down to the first corner. So far, no issues yet. Further in the back, just there, finally Cousin pulls ahead for the second position. Berchtold is still side by side for 3rd, with Mitchell Lee and Green just behind.
And Mitchell has a car right ahead of him. Maxime Poisson he is as a draft, and now and try to follow suit, goes on the inside, is covered by Mitchell and Green, and quite of a very hectic start, but very clean start towards our first lap of the race.
Very clean start all the way around, and honestly a bit surprised that it has been so clean, but it's definitely one of those very pleasant surprises, these drivers showing that they deserve to be in this top split on iRacing for the time being. So far though, for Greg Seitz, he has already pulled a gap of over a second just over that number 10 car. Green is still looking in 3rd place, very comfortable just behind, trying to run up to Maxime Cousin just up the road. And of course you have Amadiba and Fabio Berchtold still looking to do battle for 4th and 5th place. Don't discount Maxime Ferreira though. In that number 8 machine, he is currently trying to work his way through the order, up 1 from where he started today, putting Arnoldis 1 position down as well in 8th.
Yeah, and now the thing I think the strategy moving forward, I think with the first few laps is just trying to find yourself. There's a little bit of a confusion. I think Maxime just nearly lost his position, but the runoff into the kink will be quite of a lengthy one. Nearly outbraking himself. Now you can see Connor May having some issues at the start.
Take attempt number 2 on this. I believe Ozer Skopskazia, she's trying to make her way through the order in that number 7 machine. She just made up a position there on Arnoldis as he messed up turn number 12. So she's trying to work her way through the order. She is going to be up in about the 7th position at the moment. We come to the end of lap number 1 though. Greg Seitz leads the race at the end of the first lap. And so far, still nice and clean. Nobody has had an off just yet.
No, nobody has an off just yet. And I expect this to be the trend over the race, because Of all races I've done in the Indy Pro, they've been so clean, and the drivers have been so respectful. It's a good community. It's amazing to see how this official event is not ran more than usual. People say it's more of a I'm trying to find the better word, a niche one, but it's still a great racing nevertheless.
Birchtold is going to try to fend off Naguna just behind. Oh, too deep through the corner, though. Runs into the side of the number 2 machine of Amadima, who swings out wide, loses 5 positions. Naguna is going to come back on course. Now, how much damage does that 3 car have? I don't think it's too much, but that was way too deep there. And in turn number 5, nearly wiped out one of the other drivers as well. I believe it might have been Birchtold that just barely managed to get away cleanly from that whole incident.
Yeah, just nearly. And I want to see also if Ann actually has some damage on her side pump, but it doesn't look like the driver out of the number 2 actually has some damage in it. So she's surviving like narrowly. And as we look on the replay, that big sand into the rain sweep, that was actually tire-to-tire contact. So Ann got really lucky and got away with that one.
They both were very lucky to get away with that one. If they had even just another foot or so up or behind, that could have been a heck of a lot worse. Maxime Ferreira goes down the inside of Birchtold into Cat in the corner. Here it comes. The number 7 machine trying to work her way up through the order as well. She's doing a good job of herself, trying to keep things steady. Now up to 6th place. Gonna look down the inside of Birchtold, maybe for the final corner. Decides to back out of that one and maybe reset here to have a run into turn 1.
As we look into Lyubov, the thing is she's going to use now that draft all by herself, and whoever's in the front right there is going to be a little bit of a world of trouble, which is Maxime Ferreira. I don't think Birchtold is going to be able to make the move on turn number 1 unless he gets a really big lunge into it. He backs out, that will kind of chunk up the field a little bit and close everybody basically from P number 5 all the way, P number 4 all the way up into P number 9.
Greg Seitz has lost a lot of time to the closing pack as well. Just 2/10 back between Greg Seitz and Maxine Carlson. You've got Mitchell Ian Green way to the wings as well. So Greg Seitz is no longer safe for his battle for the race lead. Can cause a look down the inside for 5, maybe not. Here comes Green with a big head of steam. Nearly runs him over. He had to bail out of turn number 5 to avoid running over Carlson just behind. But good for driving from Green to make sure that that did not turn into a big incident.
Yeah, that was really close. I could have seen a touch being done over there by Green, but good awareness out of the number 4 car to back away, not give anything whatsoever. The driver from Pennsylvania still having a really good race so far in P3, 2 spots up. Got everything gained on lap number 1.
Indeed he has. He's had a really good run so far, and he's still trying to run down the Frenchman of Maxime Cousin. It's going to be a big question as to whether he'll be able to make that pass successfully on the number 10 car. We've seen before how you kind of want to be that leading car up there. If you're a guy that's in the 3rd place, you almost have to wait for the guy just in front of you to make the move on the car in front of them before you can make a run for the lead yourself.
Yeah, the thing is, they've been so close to one together. I fully expected, knowing by experience, sides to get away with a little bit, but again, the draft generated by these cars, they are so big that I wouldn't be surprised if Cosson actually made the job of getting closer and closer to Sice and keep up with the driver, the number 1 driver in this split. But having 3 drivers close to one another and build up such a huge gap to the guys in the 2nd pack, impressive nevertheless.
So where will this battle for the race lead go? Cousin and Green looking for the outside around Greg's side, who maintains the defensive line through turn 1, trying to get the crossover. Cousin gets a bit of a shot from behind by Mitchell Ian Green. Checks up big time to avoid running these 2 drivers over. What can Cousin do? Can he make a run here on Greg's sides out through turn number 3? The potential is very real, all over the gearbox of the number 1 car. And I have a feeling here, Greg Sides might be a sitting duck unless Cosmo decides to go for the bump draft and thought about going for it. Or thought at first he was going to try to give him a bit of a push. That would not have been the best of moves. Backed out though, gonna try it again for turn 5. Down the inside, here comes Green, closing right back in. Now he's gonna go around the outside of Cousin to try to make a run for 6.
And Cosson got a little bit wobbly on the braking in the Corvette corner, but still retained nevertheless on Mitchell and Green. But the fight is on lately, and what's impressive by me is they're fighting fiercely but fairly, and so far those kerfuffles haven't affected one bit of the lead of Greg's side. Is they've been close to one together without any problems, as we're looking possibly into issues with Martin Arnaudos.
Oh, clipped the grass, went really wide and slammed into the tire barriers just in the final corner there. That was one lap ago, so he is now pivoting out of the race with a broken suspension and front wing. So we turn our focus back up to the battle for the lead. Greg Seitz, once again, under fire from Maxime Cosson just behind. The tank car still is not closer, though, just cannot get a good run through these straightaways to make this one work. Greg Seitz just that much better on corner exit. Meanwhile, here's a car dropping down some spots, so it looks like Ebedita's just had some minor struggles just in behind, fell down a few spots down the order. Birchtold as well, locked up. He went deep into the can of the corner as a result of all of that as well. So you got these two really good battles here, one for the race lead, one for P4, and we don't know which one to really focus on here because they're both equally close.
And they've all been close to one another, and once again, here we go, battle for the lead, reignited once again.
Green's going to go for the inside. He's done waiting behind, away from Maxime Cosson to make the move. So for the inside of turn 2, we'll try to get the run down for 3. Has the nose further ahead, and he'll be able to make the position easily on Maxime Cosson. Cosson's going to try to go for the switchback, though. Has a bit of a run, but with the draft that Mitchell and Green can get from Greg Seitz, I don't know if it's going to be a big enough run for Cosson to realistically be able to go for a pass. He's going to try it all the same, though. In the run down to turn number 5, we've seen already in this race how you can get a good run around the outside line if you can hold it right. Oh, Cosson a bit out of shape there under brakes. Really out of shape there as he tries to get back on the throttle. Green holds position. Looking back now to the battle for P4 as Ferreira runs a little bit wide.
Yeah, Ferreira ran wide and ran a little bit of a late block into Tomskaya's lane on the inside. Right on the corner entry, but wasn't anything that affected both drivers way too much. But they've been battling as well. But what's most impressive, again, each and every lap, those three in the front pack, they've been managed to break away about 0.3 of a second, 0.4 of a second are away from these guys. The gap on the previous lap around 4.8 seconds, now 5.2 in the previous lap.
Battles further in the back are starting to split apart as well. Dirty air probably played a little bit of a factor into some of these faster corners, like the kink and of course just near the exit of the carousel. Of course, the dirty air factor is not nearly as pronounced as it would be in a car such as maybe the Dallara IR1 or the McLaren 430 or even the Dallara IR18s that are running Indy cars today. So these Indy Pro 2000s, they are definitely good enough that they can still really cut through the air, and they've been still racing nice and close, all things considered. The battle's starting to split up just a little bit, except for the race lead, which, while it may have split apart for the first sector, it has started to close again in the third, and Greg Seitz at the moment, ooh, there's almost nothing he can do about it, but, I mean, he's going to be held if Mitchell Lee and Green continues to dip tires into the grass like that by himself.
Yeah, it's going to be a little bit complicated for Mitchell to actually make any overtakes in one in that way. That regard in that fashion, but Seitz did a really good job to cover both drivers and still not lose a whole lot of time in the process. That's what F3 experience does to you. He's usually made an F3 or Formula Open driver, these low power cars. So good to see Seitz getting some good coverage here on RaceSpot.
Green has the run, continues to try to look for the inside. I think trying to break the draft, he does not want to be ahead of Greg Seitz at the moment because he realizes Seitz will be able to have a load back. So he's just content with sitting there behind for now. The one driver he has to look out for is Maxime Cosson just behind. That number 10 driver has been in second place a lot. We don't know how he's going to react here to these guys going out. Oh, hang on, we had a big crash. John Wilson, I just saw up in the air, 4 wheels off the ground. They were 3 wide coming into turn number 5 from the looks of things. So we just had a massive shunt there between the 13 and the 16, I believe.
Yeah, the number 6 just going by both of them, just clearing off right on corner entry, broke late, and the problem is the number 16 of Joel Wilson. You're gonna see he breaks on the sand. And the problem is once you break on the sand, it's kind of like the grass, and got unfortunately contacted in the entry of the car. Now I think we got also issues with Pierre Bourdon apparently, Nolan.
I'm taking a look at it right now, and he's got himself a messed up front right suspension, so he's had contact with somebody. The battle for the lead is continuing to grow closer. It might have been Eric Sheridan. They're having a bit of a discussion over the driver's radio at the moment. So we'll take a look at it here. Sheridan losing the back end. And, oh, this just over board and to go and just runs straight into him. Locks it up as well, trying to keep it out, but there's just not a whole lot you can do in that situation.
Yeah, not a whole lot I can do. It's basically on the corner exit. But I think Bourdon, I don't know. It's one of those tricky things. I can say I think you would be able to get away with it. Nevertheless, that's unfortunate.
You saw there, Cousin try to have a look around the outside for second place. Was not successful. He gets the crossover, though, out of the exit of 1. So down for 3. Can Cousin maintain it? No, he cannot. Has to brake earlier to avoid running a little bit wide. He's really dancing that back end out there under braking for Maxime Cousin. He is not very confident on the brake pedal, it would seem. He just needs to get some more speed into that machine. Up front, Arnoldus is slow on the track. He is slow to, of course, let the leading pack through, not wanting to interfere with their battle at all. Mitchell in green, still staying nice and close to Greg's sides, but like I'm saying, he is still content sitting in behind. One driver that's not content with sitting around, though, is Maxime Ferreira trying to have a run here on Amadima.
So apparently on Medema is basically the leader of this pack and cannot do much about it. The only thing is he's getting under threat from Maxime basically on the corner entry into turn number 5 and then turn number 1 because they've been sharing so much draft, and Lyubov as well. Newer contact, by the way, between Lyubov and Maxime, that they only get an edge over the other car when the corner is about to enter and they have to hit the apex. So they kind of have to be bold, try to make the move work, and that's within the margin of, you know, making it work or getting away or getting off the track with some damage in it.
Cousins looking for the inside, but just has to tuck back in line. Mitchell in green gets a bit sideways, really sideways off of turn number 12 there. That opens the door for Cousin, but not enough for him to go for it. One car that's going to go for it, though, is going to be Medema. Maxime Ferreira, I think, tried to pass around the outside. Was not successful, though. Ran too wide, flipped the gravel, and had to lose out as well to the number 7 car, who puts herself in another spot. So that second machine of Lyubov is now up into the 5th position.
Yeah, so Anna actually got away with it, and the thing is, the gap that Lyubov and Maxime have been generating to one another is not enough for Annie to make the movement, but Anna has to cover on the inside because Lyubov is going to have to run into it on turn number 1.
And Maxime Ferreira trying to look just up behind. Can he have a run on Lyubov? Oh, nearly runs him over down to the turn number 3. That 7 car still holding strong, though, not phased at all from the pressure behind.
Yeah, and Lyubov actually got a little bit spooked on the radio because of that battle, but here comes Maxime once again on the inside. The run has been really good for Ferreira.
Can Lyubov fend him off around the outside line? Doesn't look like she'll be able to. Maxime Ferreira retakes 5th place. Lyubov will not be content, though, to sit in behind as we take a look back up to the battle for 3rd, 2nd, and 1st place. Up there just a few seconds up the road. Mitchell in green still maintaining 2nd place. Maxime Cousin just behind. The Frenchman is looking to really impatient. He's kind of making these little looks every single straightaway. Oh, but he runs too wide through the carousel. Tries to get a good crossover, but it's not going to be enough realistically unless he can get a good drafting run from Mitchell in green's gearbox.
Yeah, and the problem is you need to be very close to one another to get that good run and kind of commit to it. But let's see what Gaston's going to be able to do on the Canada corner, because that run apparently is looking promising.
Oh, Green's going to run a little bit wide, crack it under pressure, manages to fend off Cousin for now. I think that 10 car might have cut Green a little bit of a break there, but that break is allowing Greg Seitz to slowly pull a gap once again, half a second, and continuing to grow for your overall race leader. And a bad run out of the final corner for Maxime Cousin is going to see him drop well down as well. Now outside of a second from your race leader, and almost 3/4 of a second back from Mitchell Green.
And Seitz actually started to get a little bit comfortable with that lead, knowing that Green and Costas not being able to put any major pressure on the number 1 driver, and apparently the driver from the Northwest is actually having a little bit of good moments so far in this race.
We just saw a pass from Jordan Ward on Frank Nguyen, and that was down for the 8th position out there. So Jordan Ward puts himself up into 8th. bumps the number 3 down to the 9th position. And from there, there's a bit of time back to Connor Malia for the 10th position as well. So these guys have a little bit of room to work with. Up front at the head of this train, though, Maxime Ferrer once again trying to have a look around the outside of Anne Medema. Medema going to try to fend off the 8 car. Oh, and he spins! Oh. Maxime Ferrer loses it, and how did he save that and not take out Anne Medema in the process?
I'm in shock as well, even because looking from my perspective, I thought the contact was going to be severe enough to cause some wheel spin on Medema's car, but luckily Medema actually got away with it. Opened up a gap, but it's not a gap that he should be comfortable working with, because again, all these 3 cars behind him are actually closing in once again.
On board with Ferreira, looks on the outside. They definitely touched. So I honestly think that Amadima, the only way you can really put that is that he lucked out. That is the only way you can say about that. Amadima was just cut a huge break by the gods of sim racing.
Yeah, the gods of Neko have to bless him a little bit. Why doesn't it bless me? But it nevertheless, well, a blast is a blast nevertheless. So take that one and live for another lap once again.
So Lyubov still trying to make a run on Maxime Ferreira. We'll have to see what she'll be able to do here in that bid to try to get a top 5 finish today. It'd be a great way to kick off the season as well. Look at them starting to snake across the track now. They're doing the IndyCar twist to it, seem here, when the drivers start to snake back and forth across the track in an effort to attempt to break the draft. So far, it really has not been all that successful, though. If anything, it's only cost the drivers that are headed up the train a little bit of time. There you see another look from Anne Medema's from the rear, and good grief. I don't think I've ever seen something like that before.
Same. If that happened to me, I probably would have been sent to Mars.
I think I can say the same. I have had it happen, but I have been sent to Mars before, so I can speak.
You've been running with these low power cars, though, more than me lately.
You're not wrong. You're definitely not wrong. Maxime Ferreira still trying to have a run on Anne Medema here. Medema doing a great job so far leading this train. I mean, he has been weathering the storm the entire race so far. Has not let any of the pressure get to him. He's had a couple of drivers looking for positions behind him, but he has not let any of them get through. He has been doing a great job on defensive driving all day long.
All day long, Medema has been doing really good. Keeping everybody at bay. Ferreira, even though he's been very, very aggressive at some points, being able to fend off Ferreira. Ozeratovskaya actually been more conservative. She's been only looking for the openings out of the other drivers and saying, try to capitalize on it. But that draft train of 4 cars has been doing really good, even though Berthold is far behind in losing time.
Unfortunately for Anne Medema, they're still so close behind that it's only going to take one mistake here from him. That it's only one mistake, and that's going to let everybody through, and it's possibly going to end up with him out of the race as well, with how close they're running together. Ferrer with a bit of a power slide there out through the final corner, but still able to get the hammer down and try to get a good drafty run on the 4th place driver, the leader of this second.
This is not the 500, guys.
It may as well be with how long these straights are for these cars. I mean, can you imagine what it would be like if we had Skip Barber at Formula 2000s racing around here? Whoa, heads up here. Big lunge there for Ferreira down to the turn 1. No dice, though, for the number 8 car. Here comes Lyubov trying to find the run around the outside for 3. Ferreira going to continue to fight the inside around Medema. Medema gives him the space to work with. And that number 2 car is going to manage to hold him off barely just for now. Now heads up, will Lyubov take it 3 wide to try to go for the 4th place? Not going to have the room to do so.
He's a real race driver. I think she knows enough not to go 3 wide on an occasion like this.
And just barely, Medema once again putting on the display of defensive driving, holds Ferreira behind. The 8 car with a bit of a tighter line that last time by through turn number 6, but it was not enough to go for the position. This is really a section of the track where passing is definitely more of a premium. You don't see a lot of cars going for the overtakes here unless they're already side by side on the exit of turn number 5. It's not a place where you can really initiate a pass. It's not a place where you can really complete one either. Usually, if you haven't completed it by the exit of 5, the best thing to do is to just back out and wait for another lap.
Yeah, back out and wait. The problem is if you make the overtake, you're gonna have to rely on other individuals to make some mistakes and then trying to open up that gap. Because again, we've seen with Ferreira. Oh, here we go. Ferreira once again on the outside now.
Medema this time cannot hold him behind, so Medema lets him into the 4th position, and Medema finally loses out on 4th place after 11 laps of defensive driving. Lyubov is still looking in the wings, still trying to pick up her first top 5 so far on the season. Medema gonna get the drive off of turn number 14, and now it is Maxime Ferreira's turn to lead the IndyCar stake.
Yeah, the IndyCar stake. In the meanwhile, there is still the battle for the lead. If you guys are wanting to see, even though there's a lot of action over here, the 3-way car pack that was the lead now is a 2-car pack as Medema goes on the inside.
Oh, contact! No. Ferreira's off! That one mistake. Now the question is, did Ferreira cut in or did Medema push wide off of the apex? But that is not good news for Maxime Ferreira. I think a top 10 finish is a long shot by now.
It's going to be a long shot. Just taking a look over here. Actually, Ferreira is still within the top 10, even though he's been involved with that issue.
They were higher than 10th place, it would seem. Then take another look at this. Oh, well, I think that kind of settles it right there. No words need to be said to explain exactly what happened. So take a look up now to Jordan Ward, who's trying to still fend off Frank Nagayan just behind for what is now the 7th position out there on the track.
Yeah, the effective 7th position, and Ward have been one of these drivers who slowly were climbing up the ranks. When we've seen that issue in lap number 1, nearly taking out Medema and actually lose a little bit of content. Maybe he had some damage on the wing that made him lose a little bit of performance, but still within a very respectable top 10 result so far.
Right on board with Nagayan, has the run coming up to the kink, follows the line perfectly, and look at the drafting run. Such a massive run. There's nothing Jordan Ward can do. He's not even going to bother trying to defend against that one. I mean, when you're in a position like that, they're going to be alongside you regardless. May as well try to set yourself up. Jordan Ward will not go for the undercut, decides to let Nagayan go. Decides it's not really worth battling super hard. He still has 3 laps to get it settled as well.
Yeah, but he's still far back from the other drivers. Nguyen is about 4 seconds behind Fabio Buchtold, which is the first driver out of that 3-car train that he's in with those Zaratovskaya and Medema. So apparently, I'm judging by myself, they've been doing laps which are very similar to one another. I don't see Ward coming into the fray as he's going to have to defend now. Nguyen is going to have to defend from Ward.
Nguyen is going to try to fend him off, but it's not going to be enough. Jordan Ward is going to take that one very easily into turn number 1, very convincingly as well. Still may be able to get a run off of this turn 3 here, down this back, well, I guess you could call it one of the back straightaways. Nguyen, of course, is a very fast driver, and this is one of those easy places to get a run. And you see it right there. Again, Jordan Ward not even bothered trying to keep him behind.
Yeah, he's not going to be able to keep behind, even though they go side by side into turn number 5. But Nguyen is going to have that one advantage. I just want to check out one thing here, Nolan. Is it just me, or the wing of Ward's car says machine elves are real?
That'd be certainly an interesting front wing to be having there. So I wouldn't know what to really say to that one, to be completely frank with you.
Same.
Machine elves are real. Yeah, you're correct.
Okay.
The rear wing, that's exactly what it has on it. I wonder what that entails.
Same.
About 2.25 laps to go. Taking a look up to the battle for the race lead as well. These two drivers have not been separated, but they've also not been swapping back and forth. Mitchell Green has been matching the lap times of Greg Seitz quite consistently here. So Mitchell Green is going to have to put in some seriously good lap times within these next 2 laps here if he wants to be able to go for a win.
Yeah, he's going to have to commit, as we have about 2 to go right now, the next time by. And looking for Green, I'll be very honest. If this was me, I probably would sit right behind Seitz and just drive the rest of the laps without major problems, because, hey, you're coming from 5th to 2nd. That is a really good result in my books. But again, I'm not as competitive as seeing some of these drivers on the track, so I would not be surprised to see if Green goes for a last lap lunge on sights right about on turn number 5, as they're now going to 4 and 5.
It almost looks like he's trying to stay out of the draft. He's trying to stay out of the tow from Greg Seitz. Are you all seeing that as well? He's kind of shifted to the opposite end of the track that Seitz is on. You know what he's doing? He is trying to set Seitz up for the last lap because he realizes if he's in first on the white flag lap, he's in trouble because he has no way to keep Seitz behind. He's trying to set him up here.
Yeah, it could be a good setup. Let's see how it's going to work out, and because they still have about a half a lap to start the final lap.
He still has to make sure, though, that he doesn't fall too far back. He still has to be close enough that he will be able to make the lunge in this final lap if he can be close enough. There's no point in, trying to keep yourself behind if you're going to fall back to the point where you don't have the speed to catch back up.
Hey, if you want to eat your dish properly, you got to cook the ball first. So I think that's what Ian Green is trying to do as they go over the kink. That kink with this car is so tricky because depending on how much power you actually give it on the car, the rear can stop. But Green again now setting himself up, kind of the corner, 3 corners to go until the final lap.
Coming to lap number 15 of 15, the final lap on the day, coming down through that final corner before we kick things off for just 14 more turns and just over 4 more miles of racing action. Pressure is on, Green. Now's the time to go. You don't have any more time to wait around behind him.
No, whatsoever. Let's see how it's going to happen. Final lap has begun. And Seitz kind of covering up the middle. Green is trying to have that run, but he's not going to have room enough to make it on the inside. I think that move, we know where it's going to be done. If it actually is going to be done, it's going to be coming down to the moraine sweep, turn number 5.
Turn 5 in the Canada corner. Those are the only 2 pass opportunities that Green has left. He's close enough that if he gets this power down, he could go for the lunge, but he's still keeping out of the draft from Greg Seitz. I'm not sure what Mitchell Ian Green's goal is here. He's not going to be close enough because of it. Maybe, but that's a much more optimistic lunge up into Canada than it is down here into turn 5. This is interesting here from the number 4 car.
It's interesting. Let's see how it's going to work out there. Right about 3-4 corners away from going into the kink and then Canada corner, but Green nearly stepped out and went on the grass.
That did it. That has just settled this battle, and that is why he can't afford to wait. I was going to say as well, the other reason why we probably haven't been seen is these guys are, of course, teammates for Rust Racing. It's, of course, a very important factor to them as well, so that might have been a strategy to get Greg Seitz the win, but I mean, at this point, that's what's going to happen. Unless Greg Seitz is a major off, Mitchell Ian Green shot himself in the foot trying to wait if he was trying to go for a win.
Yeah, I think Greg Seitz knows about this because I think he sent up a thing on the text chat. I don't know if that was related to that because now the gap between both drivers over a second, 1.2 seconds between Seitz and Green.
1.2 seconds indeed. So unfortunate for what could have been a great battle for the race lead, but it has been a great race still nonetheless. So Greg Seitz is going to be taking it now through this final corner. What a ride it has been for Greg Seitz. Comes out of the final corner, up the hill for the final time today. Greg Seitz will win the season opener here from Road America. There are other battles coming up the hill. We're looking at Amadima, who still has yet to decide his battle for 4th. He is going to fend off Lyubov for 5th place just behind. The battle for 7th and 8th as well is still nice and close. Nguyen trying to fend off Jordan Ward. Ward's got the run. Can Jordan Ward pip him at the line? Going to be side by side. Can't get there. Nguyen continues to fend him off for the 7th position.
A really good race. While Connor Melia is going to actually round out the top 10. Sorry, it's going to be 9th, and Maxime Ferreira, after that incident with Medema, is going to be rounding out the top 10 here. Noah, really good first round to start off this Indy Pro season. Been a very pleasant race to cover.
It has been a very pleasant race indeed. No better way, really, to start this race off. At the moment, we're just waiting on 2 more drivers to cross the line. Those drivers are Pierre Borden and Eric Sheridan. One of those drivers is 2 laps down. The other one, the last are on the lead lap. The last of those cars coming through the kink now and running up towards the Canada corner. So we will take a look now at the post-race results. Greg Seitz Your race winner, Mitchell in green, sits in second place with Maxime Kozin in third, Amadima in fourth with Lyubov to round out the top 5. Fabio Berchtold is going to be in 6th place with Frank Negin in 7th, Jordan Ward in 8th with Connor Malia rounded out the top half of the field here.
And just thinking of it. And one thing about all this race itself, I'm just listening on the radio here, Nolan. That incident with Fred Nguyen and Medema has been a 0x. He didn't get a 4x contact. That makes me more surprised right now.
Well, there you go. That says it all there. So the final drivers, of course, to finish up are, of course, Maxime Ferrer at the tail of the top 10 with Marcus Friends, Aaron Roofs, Eric Sheridan, Martin Arnoldus, Pierre Borden, John Wilson, and Jerome Messink to round out the 17 car field today. So far, only 4 cars finishing, laps down. I believe only 1 actual 2 DNFs on the night. That's a very good season opener considering it's a 15-lap race at Road America, a track where it is so easy to send somebody off with an opportunistic lunge into one of these corners.
Yeah, a track that provides a whole lot of attrition, and to see basically the whole majority of the field finish up this race, only 2 DNFs, have been very positive. Can't wait to see what the other rounds in the championship will bring.
Cannot wait as well. Next race is going to be seen as jumping up overseas, so we'll have to wait and see just how that is going to play out. The next race is going to be a 21-lapper at the Okoyama International Circuit, bound to be a thrilling one. For now, though, that is going to be all the time we're going to have. We will have to wrap here for RaceSpotTV. I've been Ola Rempel with Lorenzo Bonder joining me in the commentary box, and Hugo Luis down behind the camera. Stay tuned for the Apex Dallara Formula 3 Championship coming up here in just about 10 minutes' time. And then, of course, with the Formula V Championship coming on up just a short while later. Got a lot more will actually come. Stay tuned on RaceSpotTV for more.